I returned home unannounced and found my daughter alone, fighting for her life in the ICU. Machines screaming, bills stacked like threats at her side. My son's cold voice cut through. She won't make it. Rage surged, but all I could do was grip the rail as the clock hammered my helplessness. I wasn't supposed to be back for another 2 weeks. The sliding doors breathed me into the fluorescent night of Houston General. No driver, no press, just my suitcase ticking and the feeling that something at home was wrong. ICU, 4th floor. The elevator chimed like bad news on schedule. A receptionist looked up. "Mr. Coleman, one leashed. Where is my daughter?" "Defended. In intensive care. Room 412. Nurse Alvarez is with her." The corridor smelled of antiseptic and metal. Alvarez met me at 412, badge neat, eyes steady. "Are you next of kin for Emma Coleman Scott?" "I'm her father," my voice rasped. "Where is her husband?" She held the door. Inside, machines breathed in measured patience. Emma lay pale beneath tape and lines. The ventilator hissed. The monitor counted time we didn't own. There was an empty chair beside the bed. I sat and laced my fingers to stop the shake. Alvarez checked the chart, admitted last night. Motor vehicle collision. She responded to pain early, then sedation for a scan. Neuroevaluation at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily. My eyes were on Emma, but a word snagged. Husband. Who signed her in? Andrew Scott. Alvarez didn't blink. He completed intake and left within the hour. The chair creaked. Left. "There's a number for him. Do you want us to call?" "Unleashed contact." It came out colder than I meant. I softened it. "Thank you." She nodded toward the whiteboard. Neuroeval, 06 a.m., 800. Under that, family updated as available. "Coleman," she said, careful. "We need a designated point of contact if decisions are required overnight. Put my name on whatever form you need." I stood, palms open. "If a voice is needed, use mine. Spousal priority applies." "Sit down." My tone flattened to the steel I saved for hostile rooms. "I'm staying." She held my look, then paged the charge nurse. I leaned close to Emma. Her skin was warm under my knuckles. "I'm here, kid," I said into the small space between us. "I'm not leaving you with an empty chair." Herged nurse arrived with a clipboard and a weathered calm. "Sir, we follow order. Spouse is the first call. If he's unreachable, we can document your role tonight." "Document it," I said. "If someone needs authorization at 3 a.m., call me. I'll answer." "Ruthless today?" "Just landed." "That's a long flight to make decisions on." "Then let's make good ones." Wheelchair worked through the questions, allergies, conditions, medications. When the forms were done, Alvarez returned with a clear bag. "Her personal effects are secured. Purse, phone, necklace. We can release to next of kin with a witness." "Tomorrow," I said, after the 6 a.m. evaluation. Alvarez tapped the whiteboard. "We reduce sedation before 6. If you're here, you'll hear the neurologist's findings." "I'll be here." The row breathing. I watched color creep back into Emma's face by small degrees. The head of the bed framed her like a witness stand. I wanted the truth and knew it would charge interest. My phone buzzed. 3 names stacked themselves. Margaret, Counsel, Andrew. I opened Andrew's contact, the corporate headshot he'd chosen, jaw squared, eyes almost kind. Vigorously adjusted a line and glanced over. "Do you want me to call him?" "We'll talk," I said, surprised to hear I meant sometime, not now. Squeeze wrote the time in the corner of the board, 1922. "Blankets are in the cabinet. It gets cold in here." "I'll take the cold. It keeps me awake." Margaret texted, "Landing in 30. Don't do anything without me." I typed, "Hurry." Then I settled deeper into the chair, giving it my weight until it learned me. At the door, Alvarez paused. "Family needs to be reachable." "Then write this down," I answered, still looking at Emma. "I'm staying." Heart pulse. Shame was a clean burn. Resolve brighter. Down the hall an elevator chimed. 6 a.m. was a lifetime away in exactly 10 hours. I scrolled to Andrew's name until it filled the glass and became a mask. My thumb hovered over call. Undermined is it? Not yet. Bathrooms, his room held the smell of coffee that no one finished. I set my suitcase against the wall and met Nurse Alvarez at the locker window. "We can release her personal effects to next of kin," she said. "We'll do it with a witness." A security officer slid onto the stool, tapping a pen. "Name and relation?" "Richard Coleman, father." He angled his chin. "Spouse is primary." "Spouse isn't here." "Still primary," he said, tapping again. Alvarez cut in. "We can note spousal unavailability and proceed with a witness." He weighed that, then reached under the counter for a plastic bin and popped the lid. Inside, a purse, a small diary elastic banded, a jade necklace knotted like it hated the day, and a phone spidered with cracks. He hesitated. "I need a second witness. Policy." "Find one," I said. "Wilmington." Tap, tap. "Sir, we're short tonight." "Not short on policy." I kept my voice flat. "If policy is the hill, bring a second witness." A respiratory tech passing by leaned in. "I can stand if that helps." She looked at Alvarez, not at me. "It helps," Alvarez said. "Line back, we did the ritual aloud, not fast. Item, confirm, bag." The officer watched my hands like I might pocket the truth. "Sign here," he said, pen finally quiet. "I'll sign," I answered, and a clean line from her to me. Fuffling purse was heavier than I expected. I carried it to a corner table where the chairs faced each other like a negotiation. The empty chair opposite mine made the room feel like a courtroom with no judge. Alvarez sat across from me. "We can secure this on the unit if you'd rather not hold it." "I'll hold it." I unzipped the purse. The diary came up first. Emma's narrow, impatient handwriting on a tabbed page that read, "To do when Dad's back." I didn't open further. Next, the phone. The glass was a shallow country of cracks, but when I pressed the side, the screen lit weakly. A notification floated like a buoy. "Dad, urgent, M4A." Alvarez saw my face change. "Something?" "A message," I said, "from her." The security officer cleared his throat. "Sir, the spouse, if he objects later, then you'll have a record of tonight," I said. "So will I." He shifted, then nodded once. The pen went back behind his ear, a small surrender. From the hall, wheels squeaked past and a voice called a room number that wasn't ours. The family room went quieter around it. You like me to bring a charging cable?" Alvarez asked. "Not yet." My thumb hovered, learning the way to the screen. "I want to do this right." She leaned forward. "We reduce sedation before 6. If there's anything here that matters medically, tell me." "I'll tell you." I looked at the whiteboard photo from earlier, then lifted my phone to take another, catching tonight's time window. Ventween, TBD, next neuro, 06 o'clock. It wasn't evidence, it was a reminder that the clock could be a friend if handled with respect. "Mr. Coleman," the officer said, softer now, "we're sorry she's here." "Me too." Alvarez held out a small, evidence-style bag. "For the phone," she said. "Not required, but it keeps you honest if anyone asks. That's why you're my favorite person tonight." I slid the phone inside and sealed the top with a firm press. The bag crinkled like an oath. The diary went back into the purse. The jade necklace stayed in my hand for a moment. I imagined Emma choosing it without the weight of tubes and alarms. I set it carefully beside the bag phone. My own phone buzzed. "Margaret, parking." I typed back. "Family room, bring your patients." Wildfires stood. "Anything else?" I nodded toward the hall. "Could you ask Neuro to give me 2 minutes before the eval?" "I'll try," she said, already moving. "No promises?" The security officer collected his clipboard. "If the spouse calls, we refer him to you?" "You refer him to the patient," I said. "When she wakes up, she'll answer for herself." Then gave me a bone-dry half-smile and left us with the hum of the vending machine. Polishing the purse again and lifted the phone bag into my palm. The screen nudged awake. The notification held like a held breath. "Dad, urgent, M4A." Turbulence tightened into method. I would not fumble this. I set the phone down without pressing play. The empty chair across from me waited like a witness not yet sworn. The ICU hummed in a tired key. I closed the door to 412 and sat where the empty chair had been the night before. The room knew me now. Rub slipped in with a clipboard. "Night shift coming on," she said softly. Neuro moved up, 0545. She circled the time once and underlined it. Why earlier? Bed availability. And she tolerated the last vent adjustment better than expected. She glanced at my hands. "If you're holding anything important for care, tell me." Wildfires. My phone felt heavier than the purse it came from. She left. The clock above the sink stuttered forward. I unsealed the bag and let the cracked screen wake in my palm. The file waited where I'd left it. Dad. Urgent.m4a. A timestamp blinked. 22 minutes, 7 minutes, 14. I pressed play. Emma's voice filled the small room, brave and thin. "Dad, if you get this, don't worry. I'm okay. I found something in Andrew's approvals that isn't right. Midnight transfers. A name that shows up twice under 2 different shells." Ragog, I'd moved. "Okay," I said to nobody. I didn't want to send an email because he checks my laptop. I made copies to a card in my purse. A breath, and then the sound of a door hinge. I think he suspects I saw it. If something happens, or the line. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the scrub bar, as if I could pull the next word out of the noise. Ran it again. The same breath, the same hinge, the same rip. The room felt smaller. I leaned to Emma, the tube sighing between us. "You were brave," I said. "You were exact." Unprotected, Nurse Alvarez peeked in, saw my face, and let it close again without a question. Good nurse. Prejudice. I opened a note and typed what I remembered. Midnight transfers, duplicate shell names, copies to SD. I copied the memo to my drive and wrote down the hash, old habit. Then I scrolled to Andrew and hit call. He picked up on the second ring, voice calm enough to make a priest confess. "Richard, you're back early." Emma left me a message. A beat. "She does that. She worries." She named wires, shells. "She's been overwhelmed," he said, tone dipped in sympathy like a polished spoon. "You've been away. She spirals when you're not around. You left the hospital within an hour of intake. I had to secure a vendor call to stabilize Q4. You know how it is. Not when my daughter is breathing through a machine." I heard my own voice flatten into the one that closes deals. "Listen carefully. If anything you did put her in that bed, you really want to pick a fight over a voicemail from a medicated patient?" He almost laughed. "You of all people know optics." Optics love timestamps. I ended the call before he could turn that into a kindness. I typed, "Call Detective Rios," and didn't wait. The phone answered to a tired baritone. "Rios. Richard Coleman. My daughter's in the ICU. I have an audio memo from her naming probable fraud. I can provide a copy and a hash. I'll also have transaction extracts shortly."
Numbers from?
America ERP. I'll have our CFO preserve a packet.
"And this to hold.
Rios said, voice waking up.
You'll need the ledger, not just a memo.
On it.
Then don't call him again tonight.
He added.
Let the paper lead."
After we hung up, I copied the memo to 2 places, labeled the bag again, and set it by the foot of the bed, where the light from the monitor made a green river on plastic. Flelled at me. Rage pull hand steady. Out in the corridor, footsteps quickened. The clock above the sink pushed toward 5. On the whiteboard, someone had rewritten neuroeval 5:45. The ink still wet. I took a photo and sat down again, the chair taking my weight.
"If something happens."
She had said. Something had. Now it was my turn to make things happen back. My phone buzzed, a text lit from an unknown number, then another from a blocked ID. I didn't open them. I looked at Emma instead, and the screen dimmed. The copier warmed up like a reluctant witness. I set the sealed phone bag on the counter and slid the flash drive into the terminal while Nurse Alvarez signed the access log with her neat squared initials. "We're mirroring one file only," she said to the business office clerk. "Patient's personal audio, requested by next of kin, witnessed." Unresolved. A woman with a tidy bun and a wariness for exceptions eyed me over the rim of her glasses. "We don't usually do this. You don't usually have my daughter in 412, I said. "You have my thanks, and my patience is short. Unfinted to a form. Purpose of copy? Care. Alvarez said before I could, steady as a metronome. Punished. The machine chirped. On screen, the file name blinked. Dad, urgent. M for A. I tapped the prompt to create a mirror on my encrypted drive. The copier spat a brief header page that captured the footer date from the device listing and nothing else. I left the timestamp where it belonged. Seen once, recorded once. Chescom? I asked, more to myself. Old habits don't retire, they just learn new desks. I wrote the hash by hand on the release slip and initialed below it. Montage complete. 3 sentences, no more. Beagle Eyes log? I asked. The clerk folded her arms. That we don't copy. We'll settle for a single-page stamped copy witnessed. Alvarez set her badge on the counter like a token. You can black out other names. Alleviated. Clerk hesitated, then fed the log through, turned it, and pressed the rubber copy stamp down with a soft thud that sounded like a gavel agreeing with me. She scrawled her initials in the time. Blazing slid the page into a manila envelope with the mirrored drive and resealed the audio in its bag. The empty chair beside the counter felt like a place where truth waited its turn. Anything else? The clerk asked. One more thing, I said, tapping the form. Stamp it. Her eyebrow lifted. The stamp fell again. Thud. We were almost clear when my phone buzzed against the laminate. The screen showed Andrew Scott and a voicemail icon replacing a missed call I hadn't heard. Alvarez caught my look. I can give you a minute, please. She drifted a pace away, pretending to read a poster about hand hygiene. I opened the message and let the first seconds bleed into the white noise of the office. Richard? Andrew's voice was warm enough to frost glass. Don't make this messy. I pressed pause. Messy is what men say when they mean visible. I set the phone face down on the counter and felt my hand steady. Problem? The clerk asked, almost kind. Prediction, I said. He'll try to narrate this before we do. Alvarez returned the signed form. Neuro eval at 1800, she said, nodding toward the ICU side of the floor. It's on the board again. With the back to the passin', think folks with cards come back in own line. Fall, it got the red, with diddly chance to fate. For might this just so that else had bolding a wonderful, all of it down, fall as a release. She release recede under the great flower transpiration. Whether they have been a simple camped, on the key, even one mind in settle, even that I tell you any of this and any fam. She receiving the any investing bistle, that they're good back and they're gone or resting you. A small ritual followed. I put the envelope into my briefcase, the phone-bagged audio back into the purse into my left hand, right hand free for doors and for saying no. Heart pulse, relief braided with fear, proof as a newborn until you sign it into a home. At the threshold, Alvarez said, get some air. I'll trade air for progress. Forged office door side behind us. In the family room, 2 chairs faced each other again. I set the purse down and took my side like a habit I meant to break. My phone buzzed once more. I let the voicemail sit where it sat, a snake coiled under glass, and turned my attention back to the board where the day had arranged itself into a clock I could use. Neuroeval 1800. Tap the voicemail and played only the opening line again. Richard, don't make this messy. And stopped. The rest could wait. My copy was clean. The next move would not be his. Coleman HQ smelled like glass cleaner and ambition. I didn't sign the guest book. I built the lobby. The executive assistant looked up as I approached. Good morning, Mr. Coleman. Andrew is in. I'll see him. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. I'll see him. She stood and led me down the hall where the air ran colder. A conference door clicked open, and 2 employees slipped out mid-sentence. Poor Emma, one said under her breath. Her nodded. Andrew's been holding it together. They saw me and went silent. The latch thunked behind them. The assistant heard it too. Her shoulders went still. Then she recovered and opened Andrew's door. He rose with the sort of smile that photographs well. Richard, back early. Let's keep this short. There are in the maddle. The sidey was Mr. Trend, Wireless seas for people hapted to subdrated to help you gather of our use to get out of. We are more allow a faced on Mr. Trand with Mr. Journing. It's also having marriage of in fission to soffing face. He said it was the right things, asking the first team, by his help found Thierry. You also Phil supported constant last years of the inrepual shown, and into the sheet a right knowledges, of reductionist as health and fishes, online marriage using themselves, as addition as help, you would have to have in, as a marriage is putting placing in, P's, the Blairy quarters, and as a targency, as a fast surf and tain. Peace and sheet works down, and least to do us. They be owie. Instead of a maddle people crashed us actually feel, and into the sign, a more that she see that namer's own line, it need to released. Often therewith is a motal world. The blurry sarm, Brer builds a view, and as matter, are very recent. Are nearest like emor, and their sinus. Using that has Brer faces, using that Nerma's orders, using that Principles Avenue Meditation. A job's a commonly carting on the cantinia and doing lines with you are redded. To serve ma. But the company, our people, require focus. You taught me that. I taught you numbers aren't feelings, I said. They're facts. I'll be bringing some to the audit committee. He stepped closer to the desk, hands flat, wedding band centered. If you have something, bring it through counsel. Don't let grief turn you into a gossip. You're projecting. Emma's words matter. She's medicated, he said gently as if he were asking me to lower my voice in church. She's scared, and with you gone 6 months, say absent one more time. He didn't. He smiled instead. Families need steadiness. I've been here. Where were you last night after intake? I told you, quarterly vendor crisis. While my daughter breathed through plastic. He spread his hands. You want me at her bedside or at the helm? I chose to keep us solvent. Someone had to. Someone did. I let the silence count. I'm here now. A tap at the door, the assistant. Andrew, you're 9:30. He didn't look away from me. 5 minutes. She retreated, eyes lowered. When the door closed, he leaned back, confidence settling like a coat. We can coordinate messaging, Richard. Keep this controlled. His smile sharpened. You don't want the family speculating. Emma needs peace. You need rest. Ledger. I stepped to the desk, close enough to see a nick on the polished wood, and let my voice drop so it wouldn't carry. If you moved money, I will find it. If you put her in that bed, I will make it visible. He held my stare long enough to measure me, then glanced at the door, then back, in that order. You really think anyone will take the word of a comatose patient over a vice president who's kept this place standing? Optics love timestamps, I said. And people do, in fact, wake up. You're tired. He reclaimed the chair and looked, convincingly, like a man in control. Go home, shower, let me run the afternoon check-in. No. I turned to leave. The empty chair stayed as cold as I intended. At the threshold, he added, just loud enough for the assistant to hear, we're all praying for Emma. Allergies, I looked back. Pray for your calendar. Flushing his flick to the wall again. Quarter close next week, he said, warm and performative, as if a room full of shareholders had appeared. Then I'll see you before then. Stepped into the hall. The 2 employees from the conference room turned their faces to the carpet as I passed. The assistant pretended to type. Her gaze slid to Andrew's door, then to me, then away, like a compass that had lost north. Heart pulse. Anger contained. Edges sharpened. Assistant asked. Voice hushed. Do you want me to? Schedule something with legal? Please do, I said, not stopping. For both of us. I didn't take the elevator. I took the stairs, counting them without numbers. turning my breath into a decision. Priya met me at the end of the records aisle with a laptop hugged to her ribs. The room breathed recycled air and quiet whirs. "I need counsel cover," she said without hello. "If I pull, I'm visible. You'll have it," I said. "Narrow scope, midnight transfers, same vendor shells, same signature path." She logged in. The intranet banner slid across the screen like a metronome. Audit clock, D-14 to Q4 close. "See it?" I asked. "I feel it," she said, fingers already working. "Filter by 1 per million to 0 AM, last 6 weeks." To shouldered exhaled numbers, a pattern rose like a watermark, 113 recurring against different shell names with the same spine. "Who has token rights for these?" I asked. "2 devices authorized for approvals," she said. "Mine and Andrew's." She didn't look at me. "You were out of region. Then we'll let the logs talk." She slid a thumb drive from a small tin. Fresh, labeled. As she clicked it in and saved the extract, with a name that would shame no one and convict everyone. Q4 with Windows, Wind, and Titian. "Document the preservation," I said. "I know," she said, and her voice softened exactly once. "I know." Altercation she could short enough to breathe. A 3-sentence montage export note, my internal memo authorizing preservation, her initials, IT witness initials. No ciphers, no ceremony. "Wireless, David," I said. "If your counsel shields me," she answered, "I'll sign." I nodded at the empty chair by the small table. She set the drive there a moment, like a place card that read truth, then slid it into an envelope and sealed it. "When do you take this external?" she asked. "I carry as token logs," I said. "Not before." Flames lead the laptop. "You're forcing a board confrontation." "I'm forcing daylight." Forging into the corridor. The air had the bleached chill of a hotel ballroom, the kind designed for applause or firings. Taken the lobby, the security chief stood behind his console, reading a screen with the patience of a man who'd seen every kind of trouble twice. He nodded at me. "Evening?" "Evening," I said. "We're done." We weren't the only ones moving. Andrew came in off the revolving door with the easy stride of a man who expects doors to know his name. He palmed his badge against the turnstile. The LED glowed red and the turnstile buzzed a long, rude sound. Andrew didn't look at us. He tried again. Buzz. "Confiscated," he told the air, louder than necessary. The security chief didn't smile. "Try again, sir." Third buzz, louder. Andrew's jaw flexed. He glanced back, caught my eye, then looked through me like a window. "Override me from your console," he said, voice smooth but tight. "Can't do that without authorization." The chief kept his tone neutral. "Looks like a temporary clearance flag." "Carl IT, already am," the chief. Priya stood half a step behind me, the sealed envelope under her arm. Andrew's gaze fell on it, like a hawk. "What are you carrying, Priya?" he asked, casual as a hand on your shoulder. "My work," she said. He lifted his badge for a 4th try. The buzz cut through the lobby like a laugh with teeth. He let his hand drop. For half a heartbeat, the polish cracked. In the heat under it showed. "Is there a problem?" he asked, quieter. "Not my lane to interpret," the chief said. "Only to enforce." Andrew smoothed his tie. The performance returned. "Of course." He pivoted toward the elevators, bypassed the turnstiles, and slid into the bank where the doors were already closing for someone else. A shoe squeak, a hand, a courtesy. He was inside, composure recovered, but not forgotten. Programmasa exhaled. "He'll make calls." I said. "So do we." The security chief leaned in just enough that only the floor heard him. "Temporary clearances expire at midnight." Andrew was still within earshot. He heard it. The turn of his head was small, like a man checking if a storm cloud meant him. Heart pulse, satisfaction edged with caution. Numbers convict, but only if they live to testify. "Counsel, tonight." "Tonight," I said. We walked out into early dark that smelled like cold glass. The Audit D-14 banner still glowed on the screen behind us, measuring a clock we could both see and neither bend. Rhett's dining room smelled like rosemary and effort. She'd laid out the good plates, the polished silver, the linen she saved for births and reconciliations. The empty chair at the end of the table wore Emma's place card. No one said a thing about it. Words in a face composed for sympathy. He kissed Margaret's cheek, then clasped my shoulder like we were the last two men on a lifeboat. "Family," he said, voice warm enough to thaw a freezer. "Thank you for coming. Emma would want us together." A cousin nodded fast, grateful for a script. I took the seat midway down, not at the head. Margaret's eyes flitted to me, a plea to keep the peace. I gave her a small nod. I would keep the peace. I would not keep quiet. Andrew stayed standing. "It's been heavy," he said. "Emma is delicate. She always has been. When stress hits, she spirals. With Richard abroad for months, the load on her, on all of us." He opened his hands, letting the room fill in his virtue. "Don't," I said gently. "Don't hang your story on my passport stamps." He smiled at me the way winners smile at clocks. "You're here now, that's what matters. She's alive," I said, "and that the truth arrives with her." Forks paused. A relative to my left, Janice, cleared her throat. "Andrew has been at the company nonstop," she offered. "We've all seen it." "In the way," I said, "at the head of meetings that didn't need him." Andrew laughed softly, generous. "Leadership shows up. Oh, steady isn't honest." That landed. Margaret's hand trembled on her napkin. Andrew's smile did not move. He poured water. "Richard and I have spoken," he told the table, as if narrating a truce. "If there are concerns, we'll handle them properly. Through counsel," he looked right at me. "We won't let grief drive gossip." Guffling, I said, "because what I have isn't gossip. It's paper." "Hush." He tilted his head, curiosity painted on. "Paper? Fused affidavit language exists," I said, cool and exact. "Preservation steps are underway. If the board requests it, they'll see what they need to see." Janice blinked. "Affidavit? About what?" "About what Emma told someone she trusted," I said. "Before the crash?" Andrew's gaze flicked to Margaret, then back. "She told many people many things," he said gently. "She was frightened, and fear makes fiction." "Fear makes phone calls," I said. "Fiction makes money at 1:13 in the morning." Shifted. "What are we talking about here? Because some of us need to go to work tomorrow without a scandal on our name." "Then don't borrow his," I said. Margaret cleared her throat, soft but sharp. "We are not two parties," she said. "We are one family." "Families don't require rehearsals," I said. Andrew's eyes cooled, then thawed. "Richard," he said, indulgent, "you're exhausted. We all are. The company is stable because people stayed calm. Let's keep it that way. For Emma's sake. For Emma's sake, we will keep it accurate." Margaret stood to bring bread. As she passed me, I caught a glimpse of the calendar on her fridge, an inked square shouting into the room. "AGM in 10 days. I lifted my glass, the signal of a pivot. 10 days, I said. A lot can be clarified in 10 days. Andrew met my toast with one of his own. And much can be destroyed with careless words in 10 seconds. I set my glass down. "Then choose yours carefully." Turned to the table, an actor finding his light. "I won't speak ill of my wife," he said, voice textured with ache. "She needs our prayers and our patience. I've been with her doctor every day. I've slept at the office to keep the company sound, so Richard can be with her now." The cousin nodded again. Faster. A nephew murmured, "That's leadership." Made myself release it. Heart pulse, pride on a short leash. I would not beg this room for permission to protect my child. The food moved. Conversation tried and failed to become casual. At intervals, Andrew threaded in a single ribbon. Fragile Emma, absent Richard, responsible Andrew. He never said those words exactly. He didn't have to. He let the room say them for him. Southeastern, when a pause widened, I set my fork down and let the metal speak for me. "There are ledgers and logs," I said. "They will do the talking soon." Commentario's smile lifted half a degree. "Then bring them properly," he said. "We'll all be relieved to see there's nothing there." "Oh, what of us already are," I said. "Others enjoy suspense." Margaret broke then. "Enough," she whispered, eyes shining. "Please." I softened. "Okay." Andrew pounced on the calm like a trampoline. "We agree then," he said brightly, raising his glass. "We will be a steady family. Emma will feel our steadiness when she wakes." "Steady for whom?" I asked. Not loud, but not for him alone. Criar touched Andrew's sleeve. You've done so much. He dipped his head, accepting sainthood in modest installments. It's nothing. It's not, I said. Represaire. No, don't, I said. Not tonight. Silence lapped the table. Someone's chair leg scraped the floor. At the far end, Emma's place setting held the light like a mirror. Andrew glanced down the table at it, then back. For the first time, something slipped behind his eyes. He recovered with a practiced breath and stood, lifting his glass higher. To Emma, he said, to steady hands. He held the pose long enough for everyone to catch it. Then his hand, only the hand, trembled. Margaret's townhouse smelled like lemon oil and worry. She'd set 2 mugs on the counter and a third place at the small table without thinking. The empty chair watched us like a quiet relative. I don't want to break the family, she said, twisting a dish towel. I want to fix it. You fix families with truth, I said, not with silence. She looked smaller than I remembered from childhood arguments that could level a room. He's persuasive, Richard. I know, I said, to take sides. We asked them to read. I opened the folder. This is a simple statement, in your words, about Emma's call last night. You'll read, we'll record, and we'll add an e-notary seal. No flourishes. Flooding's hand steadied as she read the paragraph I typed from memory. It sounds like me. Added. Her eyes wet, then dried. She told me Andrew wasn't who he said he was. She sounded organized, not frantic. She met my eyes. It matters that I say that. It matters most. Surged my phone on the table, speaker on, and tapped the notary app. A woman's voice came through, crisp as a paper edge. This is Elena, e-notary. Please state your name and that you're signing of your own free will. Gargret nodded at the phone, then spoke clearly. Margaret Coleman, I'm signing willingly. Elena guided the steps. We kept it quick. Identity check, camera confirmation, signature. The seal bloomed on the PDF like a small sunrise. Margaret exhaled. That's it? That's it, I said. She swallowed. He'll say I'm confused. Frank. Then let the seal speak. Heart pulse, protective, resolve, steadier than anger. I could hold this line all night. We ran one more step I insisted on. I mirrored the file to an encrypted drive and a backup, then slid both into the folder. The entire sequence fit in a short breath of words, no numbers to hang a doubt on. Margaret poured tea, then didn't drink it. You'll show this to the board? As support, I said. The ledgers and token logs will do the heavy lifting. Your words tell them Emma was afraid for a reason. She bristled, just a little. My words do more than decorate, Richard. They do, I said, softer. They make it human. They make him answer to someone who loved her before he ever said her name. Her shoulders eased. Andrew will come after me for this. He already is, I said. He just calls it steadiness. She winced. He is steady. On the surface, I said. On paper, he wobbles. The kitchen clock ticked. On the wall calendar, today's square held a neat circle. Neuroeval Friday, 1800. Margaret followed my eyes. She'll wake, she whispered. She has to. She will, I said, and I meant it like a plan. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Priya. Affidavit language is ready. I'll sign with counsel cover. Keep me off stage until the audit committee. I typed back. Thank you. Quiet until Monday. Margaret watched me type. She's brave. She's careful, I said. Brave is the last resort. Margaret straightened the towel that didn't need straightening. Do you think he knew Emma called me? He suspects everyone, I said. He rehearses every room. She blew out a breath that felt like the end of a season. What happens if this goes public and I'm wrong? Surrendered wrong, I said. But if the world needs proof, we'll give it proof. And if it needs contrition, it will get that too. Her mouth tipped toward a smile at the word. Contrition, she repeated, testing it like a peach. I haven't heard that in a while. It's overdue in his vocabulary. We listened to the house settle. Somewhere upstairs a pipe ticked. Margaret pushed the third mug toward me and then pulled it back embarrassed. I keep setting places for people who aren't here, she said. Take setting them, I said. We'll fill them. She touched the screen with the seal as if it were warm. You'll keep the file. I'll keep it, and you will too, I said. One copy on your cloud, one on mine. No one touches either without counsel. Won't use it to hurt him beyond what's fair. Justice is plenty, I said. The phone buzzed again, a different tone. A group thread flashed up. Andrew had sent it to the family. Family dinner tomorrow. Be there. Margaret closed her eyes. Of course, she said. He'll do it with pot roast and a smile. Then we'll bring our appetites, I said, sliding the folder into my bag. And our patience. She walked me to the door. The empty chair by the table stayed back, keeping the light. On the way out, I touched the calendar square one more time. Neuro-eval Friday 1800, and felt the clock as a rope we could climb. At the threshold, Margaret hesitated. If he walks into my kitchen tomorrow and looks me in the eye, I might fold, she said. I've known him a long time. Look at the seal, I said. Not at him. She nodded. Right. On the porch, the air smelled like cold grass and night mail. My phone buzzed once more with Andrew's message, pushing the thread to the top. Family dinner tomorrow. Be there. I told the quiet street, and so will the truth. The house felt fuller than the table could hold. Coats stacked on a chair, voices lifted just enough. The empty chair with Emma's napkin folded like a flag of truce. A cousin steered me toward the head of the table. Richard, would you? He glanced to Margaret. Would you say grace? Unmistakes, I said, standing. From the other end, another cousin chirped. Actually, Andrew, would you? Bright, quick, effortless. A small shuffle of chairs. I sat back down without comment. Andrew bowed his head with a practiced humility that carried well. Treat, he said. Keep Emma in your hands. Keep this family steady and focused. Give us wisdom to avoid rumor and to lean on truth. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. We ate, or at least we arranged food on plates while conversation flowed around the safe channels of weather and the nephew's new job. I let the river run until it tried to carve a canyon. How is she really? Janice asked Andrew, not me. Stable, he said. Her doctors are optimistic. I've been coordinating care with them daily. Margaret's eyes flickered to me like a relay baton she wasn't ready to pass. She's strong, I said. The next evaluation is tomorrow. Andrew nodded warmly. Richard will be there. I'll be with the team ensuring the company is ready for Monday's audit committee. He smiled at me like we were co-parents of a tempest. My phone buzzed on the table. Audit committee, Monday, 900. I let the screen light the wood, then go dark. See, Andrew said lightly, we all have our parts. Records exist, I said. We'll let them speak. Weakest, he sipped water. They always do, people too. Nephew set down his fork. Uncle Richard, is it true you're bringing in outside counsel? Yes, I said. Seems intense, he said. Clarity often is. Punching in that way that makes rooms believe in his decency. Let's not put Richard on the spot. He's under pressure. He turned to me. We all are. Pressure clarifies, I said. Like heat. Margaret moved bread around the basket. Her mouth opened, then shut. I could see the seal in her mind. I could also see the weight of the faces she'd have to carry after tonight. Heart pulse. Frustration kept leashed. Patience by choice, not defeat. Across the table, Janice reached for Andrew's forearm with the casual intimacy of the converted. You've led through a lot this week. He smiled modestly. It's nothing. Emma needs peace. I said, calm, even, not a fight, an anchor. Take we're saying the same thing, he replied, and a few heads nodded because it was easier. We moved to coffee. The room loosened, then tightened again without anyone deciding to do either. As people rose and milled, Andrew stepped close enough for a private aside that was not private. Families need leaders, he murmured. Thank you for letting me lead tonight. Leaders earn it, I said. They don't assign it. Unaffected passed me to a relative refilling a cup. Semantics. Margaret handed me a container wrapped in foil I hadn't asked for. Take this, she said, fingers trembling until they didn't. Thank you, I said quietly. For tonight. For tomorrow, she corrected, and I loved her for it. We reached the door with the kind of politeness that leaves bruises later. Andrew opened it for me like a host. "See you at work," he said, pitched for just our ears. "If you can get in." I let the line hang in the cold air so the night could make a note of it. I stepped past him into the dark, not giving him the gift of a look back. Past audit committee mornings smell like recycled air and paper you're not supposed to crease. Priya and I sat halfway down the table. At the head, the empty chair waited with the quiet arrogance of furniture that's seen careers end. The chair rapped a knuckle. "We'll be brief, Ms. Desai." Priya plugged in, calm as a surgeon. "A limited scope review on executive approvals between 1 and 2 a.m. Prior 6 weeks," she clicked. The screen showed repeating transfers like footprints in damp concrete. Same minute window, different vendor shells, same authorization chain. Proportional sat opposite me. Posture poured in place. "Minute windows happen," he said lightly. "Systems batch." Priya said, "This is authored, not incidental." The chair looked to me. "Mr. Coleman." "Preservation is underway," I said. "A narrow extract saved with internal witness initials. Counsel is queued for affidavits and requests to the bank for token logs." Andrew smiled without teeth. "With Richard abroad, continuity required delegated approvals. I covered the gap. That's what you pay me for." "You'll answer to the numbers," I said. The director to his right pinched the bridge of his nose. "I don't want dueling narratives. I want risk quantified." "Risk is present," Priya said. "Patterned after-hours wires to shells tied by control, not by chance." The chair turned to the secretary. "If there's a packet, log it." Wilmington sealed envelope across. "Limited extract, labeled, preservation memo, witness initials." The secretary signed a line on a ledger, read the time aloud, and stamped the log. 3 movements. No theater. Andrew leaned forward, palms easy. "Let's also log that the CEO has been gone 6 months. We're sprinting to quarter close. This is not the week to sow panic with partials." "Partial this," I said, tapping the screen. "You've got recurring authorizations at the same graveyard minute through different shells. If it's innocent, you'll be relieved to show why." "Happy to," he said, "but not piecemeal in committee. We need a full board to avoid selective exposure." He was already dialing the room. Tapped her eyes on the graph. "Directors, I'll provide an affidavit. IT can attest to the export. Bank tokens will resolve who approved what." Mail lifted a hand like a conductor. "Then let's move efficiently. I call for an emergency board session within 48 hours to consider consolidation of authority until this review concludes." Air blinked. "You don't call for sessions, Andrew." "Unprotected it," he said, all silk. "Let's stop the rumor mill and centralize decision-making. For the market, for our people." The director on the left, always the weather vane, looked relieved to have a process to point to. An extraordinary session could stabilize sentiment. Sailed through his nose. "Secretary, draft the notice. Council will clear language." The BOTA mimed almost in unison. My screen lit with the invite header. "Emergency board session." Orchele. Each's eyes flicked to the empty chair at the head of the table and back to me, fast as a tell. I kept my voice level. "You can consolidate all you like. The minutes will still say what they say." "That's the point," he said pleasantly. "Minutes are for clarity. Clarity cuts." Preschool a palm for quiet. "Enough." A director at the far end peered over his glasses. "If the tokens clear, Andrew, we'll all sleep better. If they don't..." He let the sentence find its own ending. "They won't show what you think," Andrew said, smile glued on. "But I welcome the process. Because the process is coming." Flushing Priya unplugged and closed the laptop with a soft, specific click that sounded like a door being locked from our side. "I'll have my affidavit to council by end of day. IT's preservation notes are already appended," the chair asked. "Richard and me," Priya said, "and whoever Andrew thinks he is when he speaks in the hallway." A couple of directors almost smiled. Andrew didn't. "Final comments?" the chair asked. I looked down the table at the head seat and back. Heart pulse, cold focus, anger subordinated to procedure. "No more hallway summaries," I said. "Everything in writing, on schedule, with counsel." Hands. "We're aligned then." "On the record," I said, "not on your narrative." The chair stood, ending the meeting by the simple act of standing. "Secretary, circulate the notice. Again, subject line repeated bold and impatient. Emergency board session, 48 hours. People rose, papers, chairs, the small choreography of men and women who like their wrists domesticated. As I capped my pen, the chair spoke to me without lifting his voice. He said, "Board rules allow recordings with counsel present." Or blinked red like a tiny verdict. The turnstile buzzed once, loud enough to draw eyes from the cafe line. I tried again. Red. Buzz. The security chief glanced up from his console. "Mr. Coleman?" "Looks like an error," I said. "Same card I've used for a decade." He checked his screen with the patience of a man who'd seen every version of drama in a suit. "There's an executive override on your access." "By whom?" He didn't answer the question I asked. "I can log an incident, I can't lift the override." Behind me, the lobby doors breathed Andrew into the room. He arrived with a smile he'd practiced on reflective surfaces. "Morning, Richard." I kept my eyes on the chief. "Log it, and note that I requested the override holder's name." The chief's fingers moved. "Incident noted. You'll also receive an access denial email." "Preserve it," I said. "I will." Andrew Stiting and angled for the audience of two assistants pretending not to watch. "Andrew, we're tightening security ahead of the emergency board," he said, concerned and helpful. "Nothing personal. Everything about this is personal." He lowered his voice to something like pastoral concern. "Let's not raise the temperature in public. Then stop lighting matches." He smiled past me to the chief. "He can use a guest pass." "I can also use a phone," I said, already dialing outside counsel. The call picked up on the second ring. "Morning," my attorney said. "You sound like a lobby." "Badge override," I said. "Public. Log running. Auto denial email en route." "Good. Ask security to read the time of entry attempts. Then step aside and make space. We'll draft a reinstatement request and, if needed, a TRO by end of day." "How fast to a hearing?" "If we file today," she said, 3 business days is realistic." Andrew drifted closer, trying to hear what he wasn't invited to. I gave him the smile I reserve for people who don't realize they're on the record. "Ty," the chief read the time of the last buzz aloud for his log. No codes, no extra digits, just enough to identify the minute. I repeated it to counsel. "Perfect," she said. "Leave on your terms. Don't perform. We'll perform on paper." Professional. Pulse. Humiliation stung, but it stung less once it had a number and a note. I ended the call and looked up at the lobby screen rotating corporate weather. One slide held longer than the rest. AGM D-12. A clock with a grin. Andrew followed my gaze. "Busy season," he said. "Let me host you upstairs as a guest." "Hosts open doors," I said. "They don't lock them." He lowered his tone. "Richard, your presence confuses people. Let me handle operations while you focus on Emma. She is my focus. He company is mine," he said, still soft. "Don't pick a fight you can't win." Unofficial politeness for weakness. I turned to the chief. "Anything else for your log?" "That you declined a guest pass," he said neutrally, "and that you requested counsel contact." "Add that." Engel's voice stayed honeyed. "We all want what's best for Emma. I was at the office last night until—" "Badge worked," I said. "Some of us saw it didn't." Restraint of heat crossed his face and burned out. "Temporary system quirk," I said. 2 junior staffers paused by the turnstiles, holding paper. "Ask for immediate clarification of authority limits. Document the public denial. Use it to support the TRO if the board gains access again." I tucked the phone away. "I'm leaving," I told the chief, "on my terms." "Understood," he said. "Andrew," he expected anger. I gave him paperwork. "We'll proceed through counsel today." "Do that," he said, smile returning for the room. "But don't embarrass yourself." "Embarrassment is free," I said. "So is gravity." He blinked. "Meaning?" "Meaning it's patient." The chief slid a small card across the counter. "Incident number," he stopped himself, caught by his own rule. "Logged," he said instead. "If anyone requests footage, it's preserved." "Thank you," I said, and meant it. Andrew spread his hands. "Let me know if you need a ride to the hospital." "What I need," I said, weighing the lobby with my eyes so it would remember, "is for you to stop narrating my family to people who should be reading ledgers." He leaned closer, face relaxed, voice dipped. "You're a guest in my house." I let the beat breathe long enough to make the echo useful. Then clearly enough for the marble to carry it, I answered, "Call me the landlord with receipts." Lifted. Someone at the cafe laughed into a cup. Andrew's smile stayed, but the corners tired. I nodded to the chief, turned, and walked out into light that felt like a document waiting to be signed. Gulf Coast Trust tucked us into a vault conference room with carpet that swallowed sound. The bank manager set a slim folder on the table and sat opposite me. The empty chair to my right was conspicuously reserved for someone who wouldn't sit. "I'll be plain," the manager said. "We don't issue token logs lightly. You're requesting the device serial bindings and 2FA confirmations for specific approvals. I'm requesting what proves who moved money at 0113, I said. "Then let the tokens speak." Refusal, she studied me, then opened the folder. "We verified signature cards. Your authority is current. I'll release certified logs tied to approvals you've identified by time window." She tapped a call button. "Notary will join us." We waited in the kind of quiet that tallies cost. A phone buzzed against the table, mine. "Counsel, no leaks. Deliver sealed only." I wrote back, "Sealed only, no attachments." The vault door somewhere behind us rolled and latched, a deep metal hush that felt like pressure settling. The notary entered with a small kit and a calm that made everyone behave. "You'll each state your names," she said. "I'll witness the handoff and the manager's affidavit." The manager slid a USB in, authenticated on her console, and printed a short attestation for her signature. She eyed me once more. "You understand he may claim a compromised token. I understand he'll claim whatever is useful. The logs will clear their throat." Negate, the notary nodded at the console. "Proceed." Cycling. We kept the procedure clean enough to live in a courtroom. Rankan Plan 2, the manager saved token logs for the identified window to a fresh USB, labeled by her hand. She signed a one-page affidavit attesting to custody and device binding. The notary checked ID, witnessed the signature, and pressed the seal, time and date blooming once on the page. 11:42 a.m. That was the whole montage. "Chain runs from me to you," the manager said, placing the sealed USB atop the affidavit. "Receipt?" "I'll sign it," I said, "and carry it like it bites." Flushing, pulse. Relief edged with vigilance. Proof lives only if handled clean. She slid both into an envelope and passed it across. The notary initialed the flap. I didn't look inside. I didn't need to. "SE?" the notary asked. "Yes," the manager said, half to herself. "He'll say he was covering gaps. They all do." "They can say anything." I stood, pocketing the envelope. "Only one thing is true." On cue, my phone buzzed again. The kind of vibration that tries to crawl into your decisions. A calendar ping blinked up. "Emergency board. Confirm attendance." I didn't open it. I placed the envelope under my palm for one deliberate second, then slipped it away. I said, "Discharged." "Good luck," the manager replied. "Bring a steady hand." "I'll bring a steady record." The notary gathered her kit, the vault air settled, and the empty chair beside me stayed empty, kept open, as if waiting for a man who only shows up when there are no stamps. The hospital lounge had the kind of carpet at the far corner, where the empty chair beside me stayed empty on purpose. People came and went. No one sat. My phone buzzed. "Janice." A link. "Have you seen this? People are concerned." I didn't click. "Concern isn't truth, it's choreography," I texted back. At Amala, a beat, then the three dots of someone choosing a side. "Maybe wait to make accusations. Emma needs calm." "She needs accuracy," I wrote. No dots came back. Margaret arrived with 2 coffees and eyes that had slept like a sparrow. She clocked the distance people were keeping and set 1 cup down without comment. "Unauthorized?" she asked. "We hold still," I said. "We hold clean." K. 18 teenagers across the room argued over a blanket. A vending machine hummed like a tinnitus that belonged to the building. My phone buzzed again, a friend of the company post with Andrew's headshot, and a paragraph that said everything without saying anything. Prayers for Emma, gratitude for Andrew's steady leadership, beware of rumors during a sensitive time. "Say his name 3 times and he appears," I muttered. Margaret lifted her cup. "He's already everywhere." Heart pulse. Isolation hurt. Resolve didn't ask for company. A volunteer raised the TV volume to a local business segment. The anchor smiled like nothing bad ever lasts longer than the commercial break. B-roll of Coleman HQ floated across the screen, then a live shot of Andrew at the front steps, tie neat, voice blurred by the lounge's distance. The chyron read, "Holding firm amid family crisis." A man in scrubs glanced from the screen to me, then away. Margaret's jaw tightened. "Turn it off," she said to no one.
"Take," I said. "Let it talk." On the TV, Andrew did the thing he does, eyes earnest, tone patient. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew the script. Stay steady, avoid rumor, focus on Emma, protect jobs. He had borrowed my daughter for a halo, and the city would thank him for it until receipts walked in. "Does he know how to pray without a camera?" Margaret asked. "He knows how to rehearse." A nurse from another family muted the set with a remote and met my eyes. Apology, solidarity, and an invitation to breathe. The silence was heavier than the noise had been. Janice appeared at the doorway like someone deciding whether a pool is warm enough. She came in 2 steps, then stopped. "Richard." "Janice." She twisted her phone. "It's a lot. People are reading things. I forwarded you." I saw it. "I'm just—" She searched for the word Andrew had taught her. "Concerned." "I know," I said. "Be accurate instead." "That sounds cold," she said, flinching. "Emma's in there." "Oh, that's why."
She looked past me at the muted TV, at the headline that wouldn't leave even when the sound did. Then she backed out, offering a smile the room could accept. Discharged. Sat, finally taking the empty chair and stealing its name. "He's crowding the air." "He can have the air," I said. "I'll take the record." Angmam from an unknown number lit the screen. Reminder, avoid contacting staff with unverified claims. HR appreciates discretion. It came with a winking emoji that made my teeth hurt. I typed back nothing. Endlings, another buzz. Priya. Audit packet acknowledged. Council wants me quiet until board. "Stay quiet," I replied. "Tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Washington's thumbs up. Then nothing more. Good. Unpredicta squeezed my hand. "You don't have to be a wall. A company. I'm a door," I said. "We'll open it when the clock says so." Down the hall, a cart squeaked and a baby cried somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. The lounge filled with the small choreography of people pretending to be fine. "Take." A volunteer passed with a clipboard and stopped by the TV. "Do you want this off?" she asked. "Mute is perfect," I said. She nodded, moved on. Andrew's face stayed on the screen like weather, and the chyron kept its confident lie. I fought the urge to pace. Pacing is how you burn energy with no light. Janice's link pinged again as someone else forwarded it like a hymn. I toggled my phone to Do Not Disturb and watched the hallway clock take a half minute to learn the next minute. Margaret inhaled, steady. "Tomorrow," she said. "Tomorrow," I agreed. The phone buzzed one more time, this one from the director who plays Weathervane. "Given optics, refrain from contacting staff until after tomorrow's board." I stared at the screen and said nothing. Outside council's conference room had the hum of a refrigerator that never rests. We sat with our backs to a glass wall that held the city like a snow globe that refused to settle. She pushed a yellow pad toward me. We filed the TRO. The court's weekend duty judge wouldn't hear it. You'll get the automatic scheduler shortly.
How late can shortly be?
Monday morning earliest.
She tapped the pad.
Talking points for tomorrow anyway. Keep it procedural, not personal. Lead with chain of custody, then token logs, then moral witness.
I know the order.
Know the tone, she said. Cool is credibility. Shom Fox buzzed, subject line only. TRO, hearing, Monday, 9 a.m. I didn't open it. I set the phone face down, counted a breath, picked it up again and did not open it twice. Demolished A. Cornered but calculating. Delay is a wall I can use to push off from. Schizophrene circled 3 bullets. Do not leak, do not preview content, do not take Andrew's bait. He'll come generous, I said. He always does before he closes his hand. Don't shake it. She slid a folder across. You walk in with the sealed packet. You say as little as possible until counsel invites you to speak. Speak now, I said. I am, she allowed. Say as little as possible. Glom buzzed again. HR this time. Reminder, no contact with staff pending board. Underneath a single line, appreciate your discretion. I showed her the screen. She grimaced. Operational chill. Expected. Effective. She capped her pen. Tomorrow is the room, not the hallway. Not the lobby, not your family's inbox. Understood. Posation, in separate cars. Night cut the city into reflections. Coleman HQ rose out of its floodlights like a ship that thought it was a lighthouse. The corridor outside the boardroom smelled like new carpet and old money. Through the glass, the table glowed under recessed lights. Andrew stood at the head spot, speaking to the empty chair, as if it were an investor who needed comforting. He was good at the tilt of the chin, the pause, the almost tear that never fell. The HR rep met me halfway down the hall, clipboard tucked like a shield. Mr. Coleman, thanks for understanding the no contact policy until after the board. I received your email. Farudgo. She shifted weight. It isn't personal. With optics. Silent consent, it's discipline. Her mouth opened, then closed. Understood. If you need anything routed, send to board counsel. Already have. We stood there with the soft whir of the ventilation system doing the only honest work in the building. Inside the boardroom, Andrew gestured at an invisible chart, then straightened his cuffs. He looked like a man telling the truth because the room had no one in it to disagree. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Cong me where you are, she said. Outside the boardroom. I'm coming down. Kept my voice low. Stay clean. Unrestricted, I can sit in the back. You can sit by Emma. I soften. That's how you help. She exhaled a sound that tried to be a laugh. He's everywhere, Richard. People keep sending me the same paragraph with different borders. It's like wallpaper. That's all it is, I said. Paper, we have records. I want to say something. You will, I said. Pause, I hate waiting. Me too. I made soup, she said, because we are a family and soup is a language. It'll be here when you're done. Save me a bowl. I'll save you the good bowl. We hung up. I put the phone in my pocket and watched Andrew deliver silence to furniture. The elevator pinged. My attorney stepped out, hair pulled back like an argument. You good? I'm not leaking. I'm not pacing. I'm not performing. She smiled approvingly. You're learning. Humiliation was a good teacher. Forgiven, then the HR rep again with the look of someone who hates their job tonight. Board counsel asked me to remind you to refrain from addressing directors prior to session. Remind board counsel I was born before email, I said. I know what a closed door means. She nodded, grateful for the scrap of humor. Thank you.
That is going to come listen to the knee chair. Down the hall, a janitor replaced a liner with the solemnity of a deacon. The building pretended the hour wasn't late. My phone vibrated, a calendar nudge. Emergency board, 900. It stacked under the TRO subject line like two trains scheduled for the same track. Out with me, counsel said. Sleep is strategy. We took the stairs. On the landing, we could still see the boardroom through a slice of glass, Andrew alone, rehearsing to the light, to the table, to the chair that believed him because it had no ears. Tomorrow he'll have an audience, I said. Tangomorrow he'll have a record, she corrected. We stepped onto the sidewalk where the air had a clean bite. My phone buzzed again. I checked the subject line, not the body. TRO hearing, Monday 9 a.m. Demolished at it. Upstairs the boardroom lights glowed across the glass, and Andrew rehearsed to an empty table.
The wall clock over the boardroom doors clicked to 0900, and the room came to attention like it had heard its name. Directors filed in with counsel, murmuring at their elbows. The empty chair at the head of the table presided like a patient judge. Andrew hovered beside it, not quite seated, hand brushing the leather as if to claim it by touch. The chair rapped once. Emergency session is called to order. Record shows 9 a.m., all present. He nodded at the secretary, who wrote the time and looked up, pen poised. Mr. Coleman, keep it procedural. Understood, I said. No speeches, only exhibits. Andrew smiled to the room. Let's not dramatize. We keep the company steady by avoiding rumor. Selfish don't audit, I answered. He widened the smile as if I were charmingly naive. We're ready to address any concerns. Good, the chair said. Ms. Desai, your summary. Voice even. A limited scope review found patterned wires in a fixed minute window. 0113 a.m. across 6 weeks to shell entities with shared control. I preserved a focused extract witnessed internally and logged by committee last week. The chair inclined his head. And today, we can authenticate that the authorizations tied to those wires came from a specific token/device pair. She gestured to me. Mr. Coleman. I kept my movements deliberate. From my briefcase, I placed the sealed bank envelope on the table, unfastened it, and slid out a one-page affidavit and a USB. The paper carried a single visible mark, the notary seal, raised and clean. Exhibit A, I said, affidavit from Gulf Coast Trust's branch manager attesting to the token logs for the minute window. Custody chain runs from bank, manager affidavit, notary, me. The secretary took the page, eyes dipping to the seal before he logged it. Directors leaned in without touching. Andrew's voice stayed velvet. We can't authenticate a third party's logging in this room.
30 seconds,
I said. The chair nodded to Priya. She plugged in the USB, opened nothing on the screen, and only read the attestation line that mattered. The device ID bound to approvals at the minute in question resolves to 2 tokens, she said. One is mine, the other is assigned to Andrew Scott. She looked up. I'll sign that to council today. I'll half a laugh, half relief. Of course my token approves wires. I'm the vice president, he said, genial. This is basic continuity. With Richard abroad, arrest. Then continuity will reflect routine usage, the chair said. Miss Desai, Priya replied calmly. It reflects a tight window engineered to avoid batch alerts. Ultimo at mid-table raised a hand. And the shells? Common control, she said, not random vendor flow. Andrew adjusted his cuff. We're reading shadows. This is why we don't try cases in committee. He made a small, reasonable gesture to the room. I propose we defer to audit counsel for a full. We will, the chair said. But first, Mr. Coleman has a second exhibit. I kept my voice level. Exhibit B is already logged. The limited extract you received last week. I tapped the other envelope I'd brought. I'll hand a duplicate to the secretary. I did, and he stamped the log. No show, no theater. I said, is not paper. I set Emma's phone on the table, not bagged now, and cued the single line I had permission to play. 1 sentence only. The chair made a face that said he'd rather not, then nodded. 1 sentence. I pressed play. Emma's voice came out small and brave, the room leaning toward it as if proximity might help. Dad, if you get this, Andrew isn't who he says he is. I stopped it there. The room held its breath. Somewhere, a chair creaked like guilt clearing its throat. Andrew turned, slow, to face me directly. You're playing private family moments in a corporate forum. She was frightened and medicated. She recorded that before the crash, I said. Clear tone, clear words. A director spoke without looking at him. You left the hospital within an hour of intake. Discharge doesn't make her better, Andrew said, composed again. My work does. What we're examining, the chair said. Detected Rios sat along the back wall, legal pad on a knee, silent and very awake. The security chief stood near the door, hands folded. Witnesses matter. Policing kept it spare. With counsel's permission, I'll read one more line from the bank affidavit, she said, meeting the chair's eye. He nodded. She read, the token logs show approvals from the device assigned to Andrew Scott at or around 1:13 a.m., corresponding to the flagged wires. Flagged by whom? Andrew asked lightly. Me, Priya said, and now by the committee. Andrew picked a target and chose me. This is vengeance for being gone, Richard. You're making the company bleed to fix your guilt. Family tension exchange, my voice stayed steady, the line we both knew I owed to my daughter. You put Emma in a car and into a wall after she told someone she was afraid of you. She left me words. I brought them here. Silence moved around the table, finding seats. Andrew's mouth set. You can drag our marriage into this room, but you can't make it relevant to accounting entries. You did that at 0113, I said. He tried to laugh. It broke. A seam showed. These are routines, he said, more air in the words now, less music. We move funds at off hours all the time. Ask Priya. Not in that pattern, she said, unbothered. Not through that path. Looked at him the way men look at options they don't like. Mr. Scott, do you have anything else to say that addresses the logs in the pattern? He spread his hands, then let them fall. No one here wants the company destabilized by a family feud, he said, aiming at the weather vane director. We need to centralize control to steer through rumor. My leadership, deepest the chair raised a palm. This is not a leadership vote. This is an evidence hearing. He turned to me. Anything further, Mr. Coleman? One sentence, I said, and looked at the directors, not at Andrew. Margaret Coleman executed a notarized statement confirming Emma called her the night before the crash to say she was afraid of Andrew, that she'd found something wrong with approvals. It's under council seal. You'll see it when you should. Today is not for spectacle. Today is for daylight. That wanted to be a scoff and failed. He looked to the empty chair as if the leather would argue for him. It didn't. Unrestricted. The chair's voice lowered. We will recess for 5 minutes to confer with counsel. He stood, and because he stood, the room did what rooms do when asked by men like him. It paused its life. Andrew leaned toward me while people shifted. You think this ends me, he said, too soft for many to hear. You forget who I am in this city. Are in my daughter's voice. He swallowed, his face held together, then didn't. The breath he took came jagged. He tried to smile. It wobbled and went down. The chair returned before he could recover. Back on the record, based on the exhibits and statements, the board votes to suspend Andrew Scott's authority pending proceedings and to refer the matter to outside counsel and law enforcement for further action. He looked at Andrew. You will surrender all tokens and devices now. Security will escort you from executive areas. Andrew stood too fast. The room watched his balance catch up to him. He opened his mouth to say something clever and found nothing there. His eyes found mine, then found the table, then found the clock over the door, which still said the only thing it knows how to say, time. His voice arrived late and wrong. I'm sorry. He said it to the room first, then to the table, then, maybe, to me. It wasn't loud, it was enough. The security chief stepped forward, professional and not unkind. Sir, Andrew nodded, stripped the badge from his lapel with fingers that didn't want to help, and placed it on the table next to the notary seal that had lit the fuse. He didn't sit in the head chair on his way out. He never had, not really. Heart pulse, relief with steel. I chose fairness over fury, and it held. Detective Rios capped his pen. Counsel, I'll need copies of the exhibits, he said businesslike. You'll have them after the clerk stamps the transfer, the chair replied. The secretary logged the time. The boardroom released a quiet none of us had permission to enjoy yet. Exhaled once, measured. The chair turned to me. Mr. Coleman, we expect you to let process proceed without commentary. Process is my favorite language, I said. He almost smiled. Good, we're adjourned. Gavel. Andrew walked out between security and the hallway light, shrink-wrapped in silence. No one clapped. That's not how you punctuate this. You let the record write the next sentence. I packed the phone, the now empty envelope, the habits that had built this morning, and looked at the empty chair. It looked smaller than it had at 9. The Coleman headquarters lobby was colder than I remembered. Security badges clicked against turnstiles as employees streamed in, glancing at me, then away, as if proximity might stain them. The lobby screen rotated a line in blue. Credentials revoked, effective immediately. Margaret's breath caught. I kept my face still, my hands tucked into my coat. Mr. Gaines, the security chief said, extending a small envelope. Devices, tokens, cards. I slid the key fob and phone across the counter. He sealed them, stamped the flap, and wrote a time. 11:42 a.m. One less tether. The The board anteroom smelled of stale coffee. The chair glanced at me, nodded once. Temporary controls are in place. We'll notify staff at the AGM. I looked past him to the table. The empty chair at the head was shoved back from the wood, askew. Authority stripped bare. Margaret whispered, "You should say something." I shook my head. Not my spectacle, not Emma's. Fingered's office was lined with thin binders and thicker silences. He slid a folder toward me. DA intake by Wednesday. We've marked the chain. Sealed copies? I asked. Already transmitted. He held up his phone. Rios has the acknowledgement. Walked in, Detective Riotund. He accepted the packet without flourish. We'll be in touch this week. Expect arraignment within 72 hours. Tentative. I felt my chest tighten. Not relief, not pride, just weight settling. Heart pulse. Justice is maintenance, not a parade. Back at the hospital, Margaret was still restless. Why not stand in front of them? You earned it. I stopped in the ICU corridor, lowered my voice. Celebration feeds the same hunger that broke them. Emma needs quiet, not cameras. She sighed, almost defiant. Let me say it plain, I told her. Justice files, gossip forwards. She fell silent. By evening, the lobby notice cycled again, AGM D11. A quiet countdown. Not mine anymore. I pocketed Rios's card and walked toward Emma's room. The corridor hummed with fluorescent light, steady, unremarkable, exactly the way I wanted it. I returned home and the house learned my name again. Patience did what anger never could. Let the record speak until the room finally heard. Emma's breath is steady, mine is quieter. I leave the boardroom in my mind and sit beside her, one hand on the armrest, listening to the empty chair settle with a soft scrape. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with the story.